Hey everyone, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina and I make videos about living in my tiny house and living a more intentional life. So today's recipe is an awesome one. Super easy, as they all are, really delicious, as I hope they all are, and something that you could make for a special occasion, such as perhaps Valentine's Day, if you have a sweetie at home or in your bubble, or if your sweetie is someone like this, then you get to eat it all yourself. Today we're going to make a cake, and it's called depression cake, and if you go online you'll see lots of recipes for it. The nice thing about this cake is it's dairy and egg free, and if you're wondering how do you bake a cake that rises and not have eggs, stay tuned. Let's go into the kitchen and I will show you what we need for this recipe. As always, the full recipe will be in the description of the video below. So we're going to need some white flour, some white sugar, some cocoa powder, baking soda, and a little bit of salt. These are the dry ingredients. For the wet ingredients, we're going to need some mild or non-flavored oil. I'm going to use canola oil, some non-dairy milk, oat milk is what I'm using, some white vinegar, vanilla, and a pudding cup. And this is Bell soy. It's a soy-based pudding, and the chocolate flavor is what I've got, and that's what we're going to use in it to make it a little bit more moist. As far as utensils, you need a couple bowls, one for the dry, one for the wet, and then a cake pan. This is a 6-cup bundt cake pan that I bought at Williams and Sonoma, I think, and it's a little fancier, but you can also just use a regular old, I think this is a 9-inch cake pan. If you wanted to make a double layer cake, obviously you would double the recipe. And then the usual stuff, measuring cups, a teaspoon, a whisk, and a spatula. And because I really hate it when cakes stick to the pan, I am going to spray my cake pan with Pam and then dust it a little bit with some cocoa powder to make sure it doesn't stick. All right, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is put my hair back because ain't nobody want hair in a chocolate cake. And there's already guaranteed to be a cat hair in there somewhere. Am I the only one who thinks it would be hilarious to put one of my hairs in her food every day just to see how she likes it? I'm the only one? Fair enough. The trick to baking a cake that doesn't have eggs in it is, well, it's basically chemistry. So what you want to do is make sure that you keep the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients separate until you're just about to bake. Because if you don't, then this isn't going to work. So basically your chemical reaction is going to happen between baking soda and white vinegar. And don't worry, you don't taste the vinegar in this, but that's what gives it the rise, and that's why you want to wait to mix those two together until you're ready to put it in the oven, because you want that reaction happening right then. I'm pretty sure this is an experiment we did in, elementary school in science lab. The first thing I think I'm going to do is prepare my cake pan. So let's do that. So like I said, what I like to do is spray my pan and then dust it with some cocoa powder so that it doesn't stick, because especially in a bundt pan, it tends to stick in these little grooves. It makes your cake look really pretty, but it's a bit more of a pain. So I give it a good spray. This is not a health food. It's cake. Cake is not supposed to be a health food, especially chocolate cake. Chocolate cake is supposed to be comfort food, and comfort food has oil and sugar in it, which is why I don't make this every week. And when I do make it, I usually send most of it home with one of my kids. But it's really good, so it's definitely worth making and not substituting. Now, if you can't get a non-dairy pudding cup, then I would use applesauce or a little bit of extra oil. It'll be better with a pudding cup or oil than it would be with applesauce. This Bell Soy brand is actually really good. They have I think it's a butterscotch, and then this chocolate, and I buy this at Community Natural Foods here in Calgary. I've also seen it at Blush Lane Market. You can buy it online. So I've sprayed this, and I'm just going to dust in a little bit of cocoa powder. All right, dry ingredients. 1.5 cups of white flour. 1 cup of sugar. I know it's a lot, but it's cake. So 1 cup of sugar. There we go. We add, so 1 cup of sugar. You could use coconut sugar in this. I've not. I don't think it would give the same sort of consistency, and if you want, you could try it with half of the amount of sugar. So now I need 1/3 of a cup of cocoa. Stuff is so messy. Seriously, it's like cornstarch messy. Don't be skimpy with your cocoa. After all, we are making a chocolate cake. I actually buy my cocoa powder at the bulk barn as well, but I just refilled this container since I had it. Now you want a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So that's the salt. And then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And that is it for the dry ingredients. Then give those a good whisk so that everything is evenly distributed, because what you don't want to do is overly mix it once you put the two things together. Now we're going to do the wet ingredients. So for the wet ingredients, I want 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. There's my teaspoon. One teaspoon of the white vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar as well. Those are probably the only two that I would use. In a pinch, you could use lemon juice. Anything that's acidic will react with the baking soda and make the recipe rise. So 1/4 cup of flavorless oil. So I wouldn't use like extra virgin olive oil. I don't know about coconut oil. I don't think that would work either. And avocado oil, I've never tried, so I don't know if it's got a flavor, but you don't want your oil to have a flavor. Now, you could use water, and the original recipes that I saw used water, but why? When you can use oat milk and make it even creamier. So I'm going to start with 2/3 of a cup of oat milk, and if I need more, I will add more as I'm mixing it, just very gently. And now add your pudding cup. Could you use yogurt? Yes, actually, yogurt would be really good in here. Anything that will give it, you know, that a really creamy sort of consistency would be good in here. But I figure since we're making chocolate cake, we might as well add chocolate pudding. Now you're going to want to give this mixture a really good whisk, because again, we want everything to be as combined as possible before you mix the two together. So you can make it up until this point and then wait to mix it together until you're really ready to bake. I'm ready. I like to put my cake pan on a cookie sheet. It makes it a little easier to get it in and out of the oven. So I have preheated my oven. I always forget to mention this at the beginning of the video, which is why I put the instructions down below. I have preheated it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you're not going to see a chemical reaction here. It will get thick actually, so it does foam up a little bit, but you don't really notice it. You just will notice, like I say, that it's thick. So don't mix these two together until you've preheated your oven. Otherwise, you'll miss out on the opportunity for it to really rise. So just fold is basically what you're doing, right? You're just going through and folding up because you want to mix these together, but you don't want to overmix because then the cake will be tougher. The wheat gluten will be activated and the cake will be tougher. So this is what you want. And it's a little thicker than a regular cake batter. And that's because of the chemical reaction that is happening right now as we speak. So I'm just going to put this in here quickly. I mean, it's not a race, right? But you don't want to spend time talking to the camera. You want to get this in the oven so you can get the lightest, fluffiest, most delicious cake. Obviously, it's easier to pour in a batter that's thinner, but we're not using eggs here. So just smooth it out. Scrape off your spatula because we don't want to waste any of that. The nice thing about not cooking with eggs is that you get to lick your spoon, your spatula, or your finger, and you don't have to worry about raw eggs. That's good. There. So I'm going to put it on the cookie sheet and put it in the oven. Now, because of altitudes, baking times will differ. Most of the recipes I saw, they went in for 35 minutes. I almost always need longer than that. I check it at 35 and then I add 5-minute increments until it feels done. You can put a toothpick in there, you can press down on it, and if it bounces back up, you know it's done. It usually takes about 45 to 50 minutes for me at where I am above sea level. So let's put it in to the oven. Don't try and take your cake out when it's still hot. It will fall apart and make you very sad. It'll still be good. It just won't look good. Oh, look at that thing. That's a thing of beauty. If I do say so myself. And apparently I do. So let's just pull it out. And we're going to just let that cool for about 15-20 minutes. Because what I don't want to do is have it break apart when I pull it out. It's cooled. I've got it out of the bundt cake pan without it getting wrecked, which is always a plus. So now I'm just going to make a really quick, simple glaze, icing type glaze. I don't like a lot of icing on my cake, but I do like a little bit of something on top. So I'm just going to show you how I make it. It's not really a recipe, it's just what I do. If you have a actual icing recipe that you like, I would use that. You're going to need the same cocoa you used for your cake, some icing sugar, I have that in here, a little vanilla, and some margarine or non-dairy butter, whatever one you use. I'm just going to put in a tablespoon-ish of the butter, and then I'm going to melt that. It's melted. Then I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of my cocoa and whisk that in. Then a 1/4 cup of my icing sugar. A 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to add non-dairy milk. I've put in about a teaspoon just there. And I want my glaze to be runny because I want to drizzle it over the top. So I will keep adding a little bit of the non-dairy milk until I get it to the consistency that I like. I'm going to add maple syrup. Because I really do put the shit on everything.
I'm going to do about a tablespoonish. Maybe a little bit more. Because it's really not that sweet because of the cocoa in there.
I'm not a professional. I'm not even very good at this. But I forgot to film an outro, so I'm just going to do this as a voiceover. The cake was delicious, and I really hope you try it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, or if you make it, tag me on Instagram. As always, the recipe is below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.